Hey everybody, welcome to Money's No Object. I am your host, Dylan Howell. This is episode number 58 of our YouTube channel and podcast, and I could not be more excited to continue talking with you guys about personal finance topics that I think can really help you in your financial life and in your push towards financial freedom. Today, the topic is catching up on retirement savings. So whether you have made some bad decisions in your financial life, or whether you just got a late start for any number of reasons, I want you to be able to take something away from today. I want you to be able to take something away from this video that you can say, it's not all hope is lost. We can move forward with confidence, and we can build our retirement savings to a point that we can live comfortably in retirement no matter what our starting point is. It just may take more work the later that you begin, but that's okay. But we're going to talk about all the ways that we can begin to catch up on our retirement at later points in life in today's video. Before we get started though, if you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button. Also like this video, hit the thumbs up. Leave me any feedback in the comments, questions, comments, anything you have as the video goes on. Make sure to put those there, and I'll be sure to get back to you as quickly as I can and answer any questions or respond to any feedback that you have. Also, follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan. That's a really good follow. I think it'd be beneficial to you to learn the little things that I have for you day by day. Also, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, be sure to subscribe there and leave me a review, hopefully a good one, and that'd be really, really useful to me. And then last but not least, if you're interested in working one-on-one and doing financial coaching sessions with me, then you can definitely go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and you can choose the financial coaching session that should work best for you, and we can begin to build that relationship and begin pushing you towards your financial freedom goals. So when it comes to catching up on retirement savings, everything begins with an aha moment, right? Just yesterday, you were in your 20s. Everything was good. Life was good. You didn't have anything to worry about. Everything was cool. And then all of a sudden, you're in your 40s or 50s or even 60s, and life snuck up on you. And all the things that you said you were going to do financially or that you said you would do later haven't gotten done yet. And so you have this aha moment that, I have to get to work. I have to do something about this. And that's hopefully where some of you are when you're watching this video, and we can speak directly to how can you catch up? How can you be intentional about saving for retirement even though you started late? So let's dig right in. At this point where you have your aha moment, you realize that you have to do one of two things. You either have to start, because some of you haven't started at all, and that's okay, or you have to move faster in order to get where you want to get and to make a difference in your financial life. And you likely fall into one of three camps. There's probably three camps that those of you watching this who are getting closer to retirement fall into. Either you have no retirement savings at all, and don't feel bad about that because that is actually most people. Now, we don't need to stay in that place, but I don't want you to feel ashamed that that may be where you are. So you have no retirement savings at all, or you have some, but you realize that it's not enough. It's not going to sustain you over the long term. So that may also be where you're at. So you're realizing that you have to pick it up. Or you do have enough, but you really want to maximize where you're at. You really want to take the most advantage of everything that's available to you. So you may feel a little bit of angst and trying to get to where you need to get, even though you're on track to get there just fine. So you likely fall in one of those three camps. And I must be clear before I get started on talking about what I suggest you do. Everything that I say in today's video is going to make some assumptions about you and where you are at financially. If you have followed me, if you have listened to my financial action plan videos or the podcast version, whatever it may be, then you know that I expect, if you're investing, I expect you to have already budgeted. I expect you to have at the 1 month of expenses in an emergency fund. I expect you to start taking the company match as some baseline investing. I expect that you have no consumer debt, and I expect you have 4 to 6 months of emergency savings saved up. If you haven't done those, then what I say today is not going to directly apply to you, but it will apply to you once you get those things in line. And I have videos all about those things, so you can check those out before you go into overdrive trying to catch up with the retirement savings, because those are going to get you where you want to be, and just in a different way than saving for retirement is. Each are important, but in a distinctly different way. So I'm making that assumption. But let's start with the individual who has no retirement savings. Well, you have work to do. And you obviously have now made that realization, and you want to catch up. So obviously, if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, time is no longer your friend like it used to be. In your 20s, when you're saving for retirement, time is your friend. Time is going to allow you to compound your money a lot more. Time is going to allow you to grow your money, and your money be mostly growth and not as much contributions. But when you haven't had anything compounding already, and you haven't gotten that head start and that good push towards building your financial nest egg, then you have a lot of work that you'll have to do. And we're going to have to rely heavily on your contributions. It's going to be a lot more about your intentionality at this point than it would be about your ability to make great returns. Yes, returns are going to matter, and returns are going to be useful and helpful. But when you look up when you retire, the likelihood is that your contributions are going to far outweigh, or maybe slightly, but they will outweigh your growth portion of your portfolio, simply because you started late and your money didn't have as much time to grow, and you had to throw a lot of contributions at those retirement accounts in order to get to where you wanted to get to. And when you have no retirement savings, that means to this point you have been out of financial balance. You have been spending most of what you made, and maybe you've been giving a lot too, but you have not been investing for the future. You've been doing a lot of the other two, and likely just the one, likely just spending. That is most people. Likely you have been spending most of what you make. So therefore, what happens now is you are forced, and this is why it's so important to maintain financial balance, because at this point, what will happen is you will be forced out of financial balance again, but to the other side. Like, you've put so much weight on this one side of your financial life, this spending. Now you have to balance it out with the weight on the other side of saving, investing, right? And so this is not ideal, obviously, but it's going to need to be done. So most extra dollars that you have need to be saved or invested. Typically, we want it to be invested because we need your money to be growing. And you don't need to be spending extra money on things that are not necessary if you have no retirement savings. You need as many dollar bills working for you as possible. That way you can build a nest egg pretty quickly, if at all possible. So you need all your dollar bills working for you. And one way that you can do this, not even with your money, we talked earlier, you do need to be getting that match. You need to be getting the employer match if you have one available to you, because we need as many dollars as we can pushing forward. And that's going to allow us to use other people's money, right? They are making the contributions. They are matching your contributions. And this will allow you to just pile up dollar bills in those accounts. So it's really, really important. And if you turn this down, it can make a really, really big difference, especially if your employer retirement account is the primary way that you go about saving for retirement. So just make sure that you're taking advantage of that if it is offered to you. Otherwise, you can go down the list of how we want to go about investing. We'll talk about that later in this video as well. And then if you have no retirement savings, you want to make sure that you are maximizing your income. You want to make sure that every dollar of your income is put in the correct place. You want to make sure that that budget is tight. You want to make sure that you have everything going where it needs to go, doing what it's supposed to do. You can go at this point and ask for a raise if you think you deserve it, right? try to get as much income in the house as you can. Move jobs if you're underpaid or underappreciated or have better benefits elsewhere. Maybe you can get a real nice match elsewhere. That's not the only reason to move a job, but that can be a really strong force when you don't have any retirement savings. And then use your income on what it needs to be used for, not so much on wants. We really want to make this budget really, really tight to the point where every extra dollar that we have is really being pushed at the investing and getting as many dollar bills working for us as possible. And then in concordance with yesterday's video, what we also have is we need to make sure we get our home paid off. And this needs to be done, obviously, concurrent with our investing. And since you don't have as much time to compound your money, this becomes a big deal. And I talked about this a bit yesterday. Decreasing your expenses can be an easier way to maximize your retirement than creating the income that you need to create, because sometimes it's just you can get rid of those big expenses in a quicker way. Therefore, you don't need as much income to retire on. You need less income because you have to cover less expenses. And so paying off the house will allow you to do that. And this is just a huge way in which you can create some form of financial freedom in your life and some form of decreasing your expenses to a point where you maybe can retire earlier than you thought you would be able to, given that you started so late. And so once you do this, once you do pay off your home, you can invest buck wild with every dollar that you have. You can invest. And that's going to be the strongest part. Like I said, it's going to get you a little out of financial balance on the back end, but you were financially unbalanced on the front end of your financial life. So it's okay to balance yourself out by doing a lot of investing on the back end. And that's what we want you to do to make sure you get to a point where you have an adequate amount of retirement savings. Because if you don't, then it's going to be a lot of just working and grinding ahead of you. And we want as little of that as possible. Now, something I do want to specifically speak to in this video are the actual catch-up contributions of retirement accounts. So we want to invest in all available accounts we can, right? If we're really pushing hard on investing, we want to invest in all the things that we can invest in and max them out as a part of the financial action plan, because we know that the 8th part of the financial action plan is to max everything out. So once we pay the home off, we are at that point we can max everything out. And so we want to make sure we're taking advantage of retirement accounts. So these tax advantaged accounts like IRAs, 401ks, and the catch-up contributions that come along with those. So for the year 2020, IRAs, Roth and traditional, have a $1,000 catch-up contribution. So you can put an extra $1,000 in the IRA for the year if you are the age 50 or above. And then for the 401k or 403bs, if you're over 50, you can do an extra $6,500 on the 401k. And this is really useful because you can get more tax advantages on more of your money before having to move to other investment vehicles. But once we get those types of things maxed out, then we can go to our taxable brokerage accounts and put as much money as you want in this, right? There is no contribution limit. So we can really feed those taxable brokerage accounts just knowing that it is taxable money, even if it's at the capital gains tax rate. And then you can also take advantage of things like your HSAs, the triple tax advantage HSA, where you get the tax deduction on the front end, you get tax-free growth and tax-free withdrawals for medical expenses on the back end. And the way this is really useful at this point is because it's likely that your health is not getting any better and that you can be in a place where you need to cover health expenses moving forward. Well, the triple tax advantage of the HSA will allow you to do that, and that can be a part of your investing plan as well. And so the steps to all of this, right? I've talked about these before, but the steps to this are pretty straightforward in what you want to do. The first thing that you want to do, obviously, we've talked about it, take the match, right? And taking this match is going to allow you to get free money in your pocket. Then we want to move to the Roth IRA because we have more flexibility in IRAs than we do the employer-sponsored retirement accounts. And we'll move to the Roth IRA, so we will have tax-free money later, and we will max out the Roth IRA. Then after we do that, we will cover the kids, however we need to do that, 529 plans, ESAs, taxable brokerage accounts, whatever that may be. So cover the kids and then get back to the employer plan if they offer Roth and or good investment options. So you can come back to that because they have higher contribution limits than the IRAs and then all the things for the kids' college accounts other than the taxable brokerage account, that is. And then you can go to HSAs if you qualify. If your health insurance plan qualifies for an HSA, then you can go there, get the triple tax advantage, put more money away there. After age 65, that's just treated like an IRA, so that can be really useful to you as well. And then obviously at the end, you would go back to any taxable brokerage and really push at investing. I know this sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot of different options and things that you can do and that you have to do. But at this point, if you don't have any debt, you have your emergency fund set, we're taking every extra dollar and we're just throwing it at investing, then you should have a lot of money to invest over the course of a year. So we want to know what the options are, what our ability to save is, and we want to do it with all our might, given that you have no retirement savings. And then lastly, I want you to make sure that you don't let your investing get too conservative for no reason. You don't have any retirement savings, so you don't have the luxury of being super conservative as you move forward with your investing. Even if you're in a place in life where you don't want to take as much risk, you may need to just in order to get some adequate returns to push the amount of money that you have forward. That is a distinct disadvantage of starting later. Now, that said, I don't mind people at older ages having large percentages in stocks or stock mutual funds or stock ETFs, whatever it may be. I just mind that you are comfortable with it. And a lot of people, as they age, get more and more conservative with the money that they have because they want it to be there. And you don't have that particular advantage. You can't decide to be conservative, or else your money's not going to grow and it's not going to be effective for you. So just make sure that you don't get overly conservative for no reason. So that's everything I really have for those who have no retirement savings. Well, the suggestions don't change a lot for those who just have some retirement savings. Obviously, the suggestions are very, very similar. And depending on what you have, right, your home could be more or less important, but it still needs to be paid off. So I said earlier, this group of individuals have some, but they may be behind. Paying off the home can still be a huge, huge deal for you. So you want to make sure that you get that done in some way, shape, or form, done concurrently with investing. And maybe you want to pour a little more, a little less on it, depending on the amount of money you actually do have saved for retirement at this point. But that's still a very important thing. You still need a sense of urgency. You don't need a sense of urgency as much as the individual who had no retirement savings, but you still need to be pushing because you are not where you want to be. You are not where you are going to meet your goals effectively. So you need to have some urgency about you. You need to be pushing forward hard. And in order to do so, that means maximizing your income. Again, if you can move jobs and make more money, this might be the time to do it. If you can ask for a raise and get it, this might be the time to do it. If you can get better benefits at a different job, this might be the time to do it. So just make sure that you're maximizing your income and then using that income in order to invest and, like I said a moment ago, pay off the home as quickly as possible. And you have to be taking advantage of the match if you're any kind of behind. It doesn't matter if you have or you don't have. If you're any kind of behind, taking advantage of the employer match is just paramount because it's free money. I mean, I want everybody to be taking advantage of the employer match if they have one, much less if you're behind. If you're behind, take it, get it as much as you can. And so I can't stress that enough, that you have to be taking the free money and then investing hard yourself. Then also for those who have some, you must get to the point where you are maxing things out and go all in at that point. And then you also have to be less than conservative because you need to be in a place where you are financially free. You need to be in a place where you have adequate savings and you need some returns. Now, I will say this, if you're an individual who is behind, it's a possibility that you could catch up given some really hard contribution years, and that's fantastic. But we want to make sure that we can continue to strive forward and push forward. But make sure that you are giving yourself some benchmarks that you want to meet along the way. And if you're a little ahead of schedule, You can maybe take your foot a little bit back off of that accelerator, but we don't want to get to the point where we are complacent and fall behind again. We want to make sure that we can at least keep up to where our goals are being met along the way. And that's a big deal. Having goals for all of this is a big deal, especially if you haven't been saving along the way. You need some savings goals. You need to know where you want to be with your investments by certain points in time, and be realistic, run the numbers, and I can help you do that as well in financial coaching. And now I want to talk to the individual who does have enough and maybe is just concerned about being able to do everything they want to do and being able to maximize their retirement. Well, those of you that have enough, I want you to breathe. I want you to deep breath. You won. You got to where you wanted to get to. You have the money that you need to have to retire and to be able to do what you need to do. And some of you, you are at least on track to be where you're supposed to be or ahead of the game. And that's fantastic. You've won. You've done the thing that you're supposed to do. What you need to do is make sure that you're following my financial action plan. You get to the point where you get your house paid off and you can max everything out. Make sure that you're doing that. If you get over the age of 50, make sure you're taking advantage of those catch-up contributions because you want to be able to invest as much as you can. And then just don't stop. Just keep, obviously you're good at this. Obviously you know what to do and have been putting it into play. Then just keep going until retirement hits and you should get to where you want to get to. You maybe even want to start bridge investing more to where you're putting more money into taxable brokerage accounts where you can get your hands on that money at any point in time and don't have to wait for 55 or 59 and a half in order to get your hands on your retirement money and retire. Then maybe you want to retire a little early and have some bridge money there to do that and just get a couple years head start on retirement. Why not? So that's a potential option for you, but just know that if you're at this point, you still have plenty of options. You still have plenty of things that you can do, but you have to make sure that whatever you've done to get you to this point, that you continue along that way. You continue with those good financial habits and you don't fall behind, because being complacent can sneak up on you. But if you've been flexing those muscles and working those muscles for a long period of time of saving and investing, and just make sure that you do the things that you want to do as well, and that you're not being too much of a miser with your investing and your saving, and that you're doing all the things that you need to do and you're content with what you have, because that is such a big key at this point. We want to make sure that we are really content with what we have and can move forward with a lot of joy and a lot of happiness, knowing that we have run the financial race and that we're winning. And I know apart from those who have no savings and have some and have enough, then there are individuals here who mostly don't have any, who would say, well, I'm too far behind. I can't catch up. There's no way I can get to where I want to be. I want to speak to you for a second. You can have hope at any point in time, at any age, at any ability level. You can have hope that you can get to a place of at least adequate living standards in retirement. Okay. I don't want you to think that it's impossible, even if you're in your 60s and you don't have any or much. But something you have to understand is that for those of you who are able, it's about work. You have to be willing to work. You have to be able to work to try to get ahead. You have to be able to get that income up, work more hours, do everything that you can to move the needle, because the needle will not move by itself. So you need to work. You may need to work longer hours if the math doesn't get you to where you want just by working and getting a higher income. There is a definite correlation between sacrifice and outcome. Let's not forget that. If you did not sacrifice by investing early, then the outcome is not as good. You won't have as much money to live on and thrive on later. And in a similar way, with every day that passes, you lose the level of positive outcome that you could have gotten from investing earlier, because time is key when it comes to investing. And so you have to understand that has to be in your mind. You have to know, in order to catch up, you really have to work. You really have to work hard. And then don't be discouraged, okay? Regardless of your age, your position financially, whatever place you find yourself in, you can make a plan to get yourself in a good place. Now, good is a term that is specific to you. Your specific life is going to determine what good is. And that's okay. I don't want you to think that everybody needs to live the same financial life, that everybody needs to have the exact same amount in retirement and do the exact same things in retirement. I understand circumstances are different for all, but I do want you to be able to get in a place where you at least have some good savings and you're out of debt, and maybe you can get your house paid off and everything is in a good place where you can maintain over the long term. We want everybody to thrive, but if the minimum is to maintain, then we at least want that to be the case. Whatever you do, you just can't be playing the comparison game. You can't be looking at others your age and saying, man, I wish I was at that point, or I wish I was at that point, or because life has already gone. You can't go backwards. You can't start again. So just make sure that wherever you're at, you start. You begin working from where you're at and begin doing the things necessary to get a more favorable outcome when you do finally retire. And guys, we are typically in retirement for 20 plus years. If you retire at 60 or 65, then you're 80 or 85. I mean, people easily live that long in just a lot of cases. So you have to understand that there's still a lot of life to live. There's a lot of mistakes that you can overcome, that you can work past financially, and you can make up for the transgressions of your past. You can make up for the financial mistakes you've made previously. You just cannot stop trying. You cannot stop working. You cannot stop that day by day meticulous planning, working, setting goals, working towards those goals. And I know this is going to be difficult, especially if you have not been that person to this point, but it is never too late to change. You can always decide to change. It just may be more difficult to put into place if you have built all these walls already and you've already created this way of living that is not healthy financially and is not the way you should be doing things. But you can always change. Change is just easier for some than it is for others, just based on how their life has panned out. But I want you to know that just don't stop trying, because there is something greener over the hill if you work for it, if you put in the time, if you put in the effort to be financially successful and reach financial freedom at whatever point you do reach it. So I want you guys to know that it is perfectly okay to be in a place where you need to catch up on your retirement savings, but it's not okay to stay in that place. You have to work. You have to do what you can to follow the steps to get ahead, to catch back up, and to create a retirement life for yourself that is fulfilling. That is something that you enjoy. That is something that you want to be doing, and not just a level of surviving. We don't want to survive. We want to thrive if at all possible. You have to have an aha moment, or a moment where you just realize that you have to take that first step. And hopefully this type of video can allow you to realize, I do have to take that first step. And you can take those steps and start working hard and start making a plan for yourself that you can work on day by day, and that you can work on month by month and year by year to get you to where you want to go. And you can work really hard and have a lot of intentionality and tenacity in moving forward and getting to that point of financial freedom, whatever that point is for you. So hey guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, hit the thumbs up button, leave me any feedback in the comments, questions, comments, whatever it may be. I will get back to you. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify podcasts, then please subscribe there and leave me a review. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan. That is a really high quality follow. I think you'll learn a lot of things. You'll have a lot of things that I either have talked about on previous episodes or haven't talked about on an episode yet that I'm putting out every single day in bits and pieces of content. So hopefully that can supplement the video as well and really continue your learning in personal finance topics. And then if you want to work one-on-one with me, if you want to create a financial plan that will work for you in the long term, then we can definitely build that together. I just need you to go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com, and click on the Work with Dylan tab and choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you. And we can begin to push forward in your financial life. So tune in tomorrow as I talk about financial burnout and doing all the steps and all the things to get ahead financially and burning out, and how we can remedy that particular downfall of living a financial life where things are so goal oriented and planned out. We don't want to burn out, and I'll help you to keep from doing so in tomorrow's video. So thanks for tuning in to this episode of Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. God bless.